Talk Business Arkansas is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau, the Arkansas State Chamber of Commerce and Associated Industries of Arkansas, the Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas, Noble Strategies, the Arkansas Healthcare Association, and Delta Trust and Bank.
Joining me now is Matt Hass. He is the Arkansas Trial Lawyers Association Executive Director.
Hey, Robbie, how are you?
Welcome to our webcast podcast. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
You guys have been active in the field doing some polling. I want to talk about some of that, but first let's do a little recap of what kind of legislative session it was for you guys. There was a lot of sentiment at the beginning of the legislative session that there would be some sort of tort reform / civil justice reform, depending on your perspective, amendment proposed. It did not happen. I sense that you guys were not too upset about that.
We were not too upset. Hopefully we'll still be able to get some of the details worked out via changing the court rules, and I think there'll probably be some legislation that needs to be addressed in the next session. Obviously the big things of caps on damages will have to be a constitutional amendment, and those didn't happen. So.
Do you anticipate bringing your own constitutional amendment forward? There's been some discussion of it.
We're in discussion at that right now. I would say we've been focus grouping the issue for a couple of years and have just started polling. I think we'll go back and focus a little bit more and kind of see where the field leads us. It's obviously going to probably be a very crowded election year with an AG's race, a governor's race, a number of constitutional amendments on the ballot.
Senate race?
U.S. Senate races. It's going to be a busy ballot year, so we're looking at all those issues right now and focusing polling them.
Is the position of ATLA that there should be no caps on damages whatsoever, or is there some sort of limit that might be perceived as reasonable?
We are for caps on limits, or caps on damages. What a jury awards and then what a judge defines to be, whether it's frivolous or not.
So leaving it within the system.
Leaving it what it is. You know, in some states we've seen obvious wild abuses, maybe back in Texas in the 80s, some pretty abusive systems. It just doesn't happen in Arkansas. The biggest case that we can talk about is really the rice case, the genetically modified rice, which is really a business versus business litigation. One of the state's largest employers said caps on damages is not a good idea. So.
And that was part of what helped unravel kind of this consensus that was building at the state capitol on that.
I think so. I think one thing we found out between our focus grouping and the session that for a long time tort reform has been an issue tied with the Republican Party. We found that maybe not so much as, it may be Republican, but it's not conservative. The true conservatives understand that protecting the Constitution, this is what our forefathers, when they wrote the Declaration of Independence, part of what they declared independence on was our right to trial by jury. They came to this country to fight for it, and the true conservatives still buy and believe that.
And that is what Amendment 7 is in the Bill of Rights there, which you're wearing on your lapel.
The 7th Amendment, the right to trial by jury.
All right, let's take a quick commercial break. Let's come back and talk about some of the polling that you guys have provided here. I'm with Matt Hass with the Arkansas Trial Lawyers Association. I am Roby Brock, and this is Talk Business. Stay with us through this break.
I don't think it's going to be an easy conversation because they are very strong-willed. I think it's going to be important to us that we know that you're somewhere in a facility that looks after you, has compassion, has care, and you respect it. I mean, I'd love to look after them, I'd love to be able to take care of them, but I don't think I could. That'd be a wrong choice on my part.
Arkansas's skilled nursing and assisted living centers provide quality care for our seniors.
Farm Bureau helps protect its members in more ways than you might think. They've always been the voice of agriculture in Arkansas, working on behalf of folks like me when nobody else would. And Farm Bureau stands for the values that Arkansas families care about. They've protected my right to farm and make a living, which helps everybody who likes food on the table. You know what they say, Arkansas counts on agriculture, and agriculture counts on Farm Bureau.
The Arkansas State Chamber of Commerce and Associated Industries of Arkansas. The State Chamber AIA is the leading voice for business at the state capitol and serves as the primary business advocate on all issues affecting Arkansas employers. Our mission is to promote a pro-business, free enterprise agenda and prevent anti-business legislation, regulations, and rules. Now more than ever, business matters. Learn more at arkansasstatechamber.com.
I was looking for a bank that could best protect my finances.
This shared my passion for my business's potential. A bank that offered investment expertise.
Lending support.
Insurance guidance.
A bank that delivered full financial support.
That's how I found True Balance.
True Balance.
From my bank.
From my bank.
Delta Trust and Bank, the expertise to meet all your financial needs.
One of the real advantages of electric cooperatives membership is having a voice in our state's energy future.
Not a week goes by without important energy issues making headlines. These are issues that need to be discussed. And you should know that as policies are being developed, the cooperatives are looking out for our members, advocating what's best for you.
We are your friends and neighbors.
We are your local electric company.
The electric cooperatives.
We are Arkansas.
And we are back with Matt Hass. He is the Executive Director of the Arkansas Trial Lawyers Association. All right, you guys have been doing some polling here in the field, a variety of different issues. Diamond State Consulting Group, a reputable conservative-leaning polling firm, has done this public opinion survey for you. 633 registered voters. Before we get into some of the specific details, what are you trying to do overall with the encompassing effect of this poll?
We know there's some talk about this issue coming back to the ballot. There was an effort in the last session that didn't make it to get to the ballot. So we hear
the
there's talk
reform
of the tort reform issue.
Mm-hmm.
We hear there may be a movement to push that back. So we're obviously not going to sit on our heels idly and watch as it happens. So we've known this was coming for probably 10 years now, and for the last couple of years we've been focus grouping it, narrowing our focus down and trying to see what the numbers are ourselves. And as I guess we'll get to the numbers here in a moment, it doesn't seem there's a whole lot of appetite for tort reform.
Well, let's talk about one of these first questions here. Some people say that lawsuits harm businesses and job creation because trial lawyers file frivolous lawsuits. Other people say that lawsuits allow consumers to protect themselves from corporations that harm them and that their constitutional right to trial by jury should be protected. 26.5% said lawsuits harm businesses. 45% said lawsuits protect consumers. Surprising to you?
Not to me. Actually, the only people I've ever found that were really for tort reform were big businesses. Even small business, not necessarily. See, in the 2003 tort reform, there was a punitive damage cap of $1 million. Well, that would put most small businesses out of business regardless. But big business are the ones that seem to push it. So the only people I've ever found that are really interested in tort reform are the businesses that can pay $1 million to their CEO as a Christmas bonus.
Well, there's a lot of different ways to phrase a question, though. Do you think you're open to some criticism for the way this question is phrased?
Maybe so. We've done some focus grouping that got us to this point before we wrote the questions. Our goal in this poll was to lay it out, the kind of arguments. One of lawsuits, I guess all good public policy has to find the middle ground. Tort reform, I guess, tries to strike the balance between creating jobs and businesses versus protecting consumers. So when we laid those two options out side by side, the polling number is pretty strong.
Let's go to some illegal immigration questions that you had in the poll here. This is really kind of the next big hot topic in Washington, D.C., in particular as immigration reform is debated at the federal level. Generally speaking, do you think undocumented persons who enter the U.S. illegally help or hurt our economy? If you think undocumented persons who enter the U.S. help our economy, press 1. If you think that they hurt the economy, press 2. 68% said that they think illegal immigrants hurt the economy. Only 19.9%, 20% roughly, say that it helps. This seems to be a slam dunk.
That seems to be a slam dunk. And you'll see the next question we followed up with is, overwhelmingly, the people seem that illegal immigration is a problem in the state. Now, how do we address it? The two options, again, public policy, finding the balance in the middle. It's either you punish the undocumented worker by sending them back, or you punish the job creators who brought them here illegally to give them jobs in the first place.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and run through that question just so we've got that for the full context. Some people say that illegal immigration would end if businesses were punished for hiring illegal immigrants. Basically, should the law punish the people who hire? Should the law punish those who are actually, I guess, who are illegal immigrants? 58.6% punish those who hire illegal immigrants. How does this bubble up, materialize into a public policy issue at the state level to be debated?
That's a very interesting question. That's still what we're focused on. We'll go back and take this and focus group and probably do some more polling. Generally speaking, immigration reform has been a federal issue, but we have seen Arizona as a state enter into it. So we think there may be some ways to deal with it here. In our focus groups, what we found, the interesting thing was people don't blame the undocumented workers for being in the country. They're trying to better their family and do a better job. what they do blame are the people who are breaking the law in the first place to hire them to create the jobs. So if there was no jobs, there would be no immigration problem.
How do the trial lawyers play into this? It's an opportunity for potential legal action down the road, or is there a bigger issue here at work?
Generally speaking, this is an issue we've been interested in polling in. We have a coalition, actually multiple coalitions that we're involved with, from the groups from the far right to the far left. We've all found have an interest in protecting the Constitution, and this is some of the issues that some of the other groups have been interested in as well.
All right, last question here. The current minimum wage is $7.25 per hour. Would you support or oppose an increase in the minimum wage to $8.25 per hour, a whole dollar? 60% support an increase, 32% roughly oppose an increase. Your reaction to those numbers?
Actually, not surprised again. This is kind of an old issue that's, I guess, 7-8 years ago they increased the minimum wage. A lot of the same group that pushed that effort then are still back in the game. There was a bill last session to do so. It seems that the general population is for, if you go to work every day and you work hard, you should still be able to make a living and not be in the poverty level.
I would argue that a Republican-controlled legislature would argue differently than that. So
that's probably true. That's why we're looking at what the voters say.
All right. What do you plan on doing with these numbers now that you have them and they're out there?
That's a really good question. We're going to go back and go back to our focus groups again and dig down a little bit deeper. We'll probably have some more polling to see and then kind of see how issues shape up in the upcoming election and what all will be on the ballot.
So this could materialize into some sort of amendment push in some variety, shape, or form.
It could. One thing we've discovered with our coalition groups, this is kind of more of a partnership, if you would. If you're going to go to the ballot initiative route where you're hiring a professional signature gatherers, it's really not much more expensive to add other issues in. So you can kind of cut your cost down on your signature gathering by more interested parties joining hands together.
Can you tell me who some of your coalition members are? Or is that top secret information?
Well, I think it's pretty clear from the last session. You could see some of our strong supporters. Obviously, labor and the injured workers of the state. We had a strong showing of support from farmers in our last session who've seen firsthand what litigation can do when you're versing a multi-billion-dollar German corporation versus a small Arkansas business, an Arkansas family farm or Riceland Foods. So some folks have had firsthand knowledge of it come to the table.
All right, he's Matt Hass. He's with the Arkansas Trial Lawyers Association. Appreciate you.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Rob.
you sharing these numbers with us. And as always, you can keep up with the latest in business and politics on our website at talkbusinessarkansas.com. I'm Roby Brock. We'll see you next time.
Talk Business Arkansas is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau, the Arkansas State Chamber of Commerce and Associated Industries of Arkansas, the Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas, Noble Strategies, the Arkansas Healthcare Association, and Delta Trust and Bank.